Hey friends, Jill and Nate here.
Hey,
welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. As you can tell, we are sweating our butts off because we chose to do this video in the hottest part of the day because we have other things we have to do today. So we're out in the high tunnel, as you guys can see, and we have cleaned a bed because we are going to, what are we doing today?
Whatever Mama said.
Good answer.
He drug out here.
He did. He was all cozy in the house, and I was like, hey, will you come help me?
I was working on orders, thank you.
He was working on orders, but I feel like we don't do a lot of teaching style vlogs together, and that's something I wish we did more of because you have so much information and knowledge when it comes to soil health and just a lot of different things like that. You have a lot to bring to the table, and so you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I have value.
I know you do. I never questioned. So I thought we'd tag team this vlog. A couple that vlogs together stays together. And so we're gonna throw some tips and tricks out at you as we are transplanting. I actually did a massive transplant out into the raised bed garden today. I'm shooting a veggie course that'll be out later this winter. So the course I'm filming is really kind of geared towards that backyard grower, but someone who wants to have a small space and still grow like a pro. Like, how do you grow on a professional level? How do you yield thousands of pounds of food in a season for your family if you don't have all of this land? And I really talk a lot about this in my book. The book highlights the small scale farmer, and this kind of goes in depth, very visual on how you do all these things. And so I did that this morning, but then I grabbed Nathan to help me. So we're transplanting out all of our kohlrabi, which I know you're excited about.
I am excited.
So we have the purple kohlrabi and a Lanro, which is a white kohlrabi. We have got, what is this right here?
Broccoli.
I think these are different cauliflower varieties.
Oh, yep, cauliflower.
And then we have some Chinese cabbage that the pests have just completely torn apart. And I have a couple Imperial broccoli varieties, but I'm going to be starting in succession. And so I've got like Brussels sprouts I'm going to start again, some more tiara cabbage, and we kind of start these in successions and we plant them out in successions, and that is strategic, and it kind of worked in my favor, I feel like, with all the other things that we have going on. But we do that so that we can stagger our harvest. Obviously things are going to grow a lot faster in the high tunnel, so my first big wave went out today in the raised bed, and these were kind of extra, so I'm throwing in here. But I'm going to be starting that second round, and I'll plant them out much later in here, but they'll still probably be ready before the stuff in the raised bed, because that's just the benefit of growing in the tunnel.
That's right. Yeah, so everything grows so much better in the tunnel, and I think it's because of the controlled environment. You know, you can basically control everything. Traps heat, keeps that soil temperature warm.
You don't deal with pests as much, really just the elements outside, right? Yeah. So we don't have hardly any disease in here because we're growing hybrid varieties, but then we're not worried about rainfall, right? We're pruning really heavy in here to get better airflow because it does stay hotter. So we're kind of catering to our plants based off the environment that's in here, which is more hot, more humid, but it's also eliminating things like blight, like blossom end rot, a lot of those things that are caused from just condensed plants, not heavy pruning, elements outside like the rain that you can't really control, the scorching sun. We have a shade cloth on here. So there's a lot of great benefits from growing in a high tunnel. If you've been thinking about it, we highly encourage it. We really want another tunnel to grow in because we love it so much.
That's right.
But are you ready to get busy planting?
Of course.
So this soil, ideally when you're going to plant, I would, if you have drip irrigation, turn the drip on first, get your bed saturated. But what we do with our transplants outside, and especially if you're talking about root crops, make sure you're watering them like overhead with a water hose is good if you want. Or for us, typically I'll turn the drip on for about 20 or 30 minutes before I plant, and then I'll just manually turn it back on again to make sure it's all saturated, especially if you're doing what we're doing right now and we're planting in the middle of the day, which is not what I recommend.
No.
Do as I say, not as I do. Especially if you have little bitty baby seedlings, this is like transplant shock the thing. And also if you're not watering well, they could just get super hot and die. So you know, right now, we had today to do this, and sometimes your schedule is going to be like that where you just have to do it in a time that's not ideal. That's okay. We've got plenty because I am starting another round of all of these varieties. I'm not as concerned because if one died, I could easily replace it. But if this is all you started and you have a select heirloom variety that you can't get anywhere else, maybe be mindful. Plant early in the morning, later in the evening. Set yourself up for the best success so that you're not devastated in the long run.
Yeah, definitely, I would say later in the evening.
Yeah, later in the evening for sure. So we are going to make sure that this is all clean. I'm just going to like run a rake through it real quick, and then we will get busy planting.
All right, ready to work.
All right, you ready to plant, babe?
I'm ready.
All right, so we are planting the kohlrabi first. I actually saved all of this to be planted out into the high tunnel. Because if you guys remember the catastrophe we had last year with the chickens getting out, and I've never, knock on wood, had a chicken in my high tunnel, so I was not willing to take the risk, because really we're kind of on that edge of like, ooh, I should have gotten these in the ground a little bit sooner. Now kohlrabi can withstand a light frost, and since we are in here, you know, I could easily throw up some 9-gauge wires and put some frost cover on here, some row fabric, so I'll do that if need be. But I thought we could just ensure a yield more accurately if we grew these in the high tunnel. Kohlrabi, if you're transplanting out, you can, you know, sow them like 4 to 6 inches apart. I'm going to sow these 6 inches apart because here on our drip irrigation, we have an emitter. Every 12 inches. So I know between each emitters, I can get 2 plants.
Yep.
And so that's just simple math for me. And so that's what I'm going to do. While I am transplanting out, I'm going to let this good looking chunk behind me, hunk, not chunk. I'm going to let this good looking hunk behind
Thanks,
me
babe.
tell you some of his favorite ways to eat kohlrabi, consume kohlrabi. He's kind of the kitchen connoisseur, if you know what I mean.
I consume a lot of kohlrabi. Matter of fact, I had fermented kohlrabi for lunch today. But I love kohlrabi raw, cutting it up, eating it like a turnip.
Yeah. Switch me.
Switch you.
Switch me.
If you've never had kohlrabi, I'd encourage you to try it because it is milder than a turnip, I believe, but more flavorful than a potato. I personally like it raw. We ferment a lot of it, and use that in protein bowls, or I just eat it like pickles because it tastes like pickles. We've had some amazing kohlrabi. What was that? Kohlrabi soup.
I did make a kohlrabi soup.
Yeah, that was really, really good. I'm guessing you cooked it similar to a potato soup, but you used kohlrabi instead, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, so kohlrabi is technically a German turnip, but it can be used as a starch. So it has that turnip taste in a way, but not that kick. If you notice a lot of turnips and radishes, they have that spicy taste. I don't feel like a kohlrabi takes on that hint. It tastes more of a starch and a potato, which is why it's kind of a cross and a great blend of the two.
Something I've wanted to do, and that I've seen on an Instagram post somewhere, was they cut it about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick, and they grilled them. You know, as long as I guess that would get soft, but man, that looked good.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
I love anything cooked over fire, so those are my favorite ways.
All I want, me and you.
we have officially planted our first round of fall brassicas. So we did pretty much 12-inch spacing on all of our kohlrabi. Well, kohlrabi was 6 inches. We did 12-inch spacings on our broccoli and our cauliflower. And we are going to have some space in between, which is going to be really nice because we're going to be starting those soil blocks of spinaches, of lettuces, of root crops, so we can easily go in and interplant. That's one of the really, really great things about these bigger plants. Like, I mean, cauliflower gets pretty big, broccoli gets pretty big. But you can go in and interplant those pretty easily, things that prefer shade, stuff like that. And also kind of provide a little bit of warmth for those as well. Carrots. I mean, there's so many things we could do. And what we'll probably do is just start them in those little soil blocks, the mini 20 blocks, and just transplant them out. Now, typically, we'll be transplanting out our spinaches and our lettuces. Things like radish, beets, and carrots, we'll just go in and direct seed because the taproot on those really doesn't like to be messed with and transplanted, so we just don't even worry about that. But now we're gonna pop the irrigation on for probably 90 minutes. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really hot. The soil was still pretty dry to begin with, and we actually need to run another line of drip tape. So we've got 2 lines of drip in here. I need 3, and you know, thankfully when we kind of have the ends all set up, that looks like just taking another line, popping it in. It's pretty easy.
And then again, we plant it in the middle of the day, so it needs to be extra wet.
Extra wet. So thanks for hanging out with us as we transplanted today. It feels so good to officially have some of our fall crops in the ground. I don't know about you, but we're counting down the days to cooler weather, you guys. And it seems crazy that it's 100 degrees outside and we're planting things for the winter, but really, like, September's that mark for me on, like, okay, you should have your stuff in the ground, you should have your stuff started in the greenhouse, getting ready to transplant it out. And so, you know, I just think back to this time last year, we'd bought this farm and we were, you know, I had to go and buy transplants from all these different nurseries. And I don't know, we're just coming up on a really sweet time. We've been here for almost a year. That seems surreal, and really just kind of making the most out of that, honestly. But we're going to turn the irrigation on.
Go get some AC and some water.
Go get some AC and some water. But thank you guys for hanging out with us. Hopefully you are also getting in your fall gardens. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.